everyone. How are you? Nice to meet you once again. I have a very, very important guest for us today. With me in the Zoom, of course, we have Jacqueline Jill. Hello, Jacqueline. How are you?
Hello, Rafael. It's great to be here with you all.
Thank you so much for your time. So, well, without further ado, Jacqueline, could you introduce yourself to our audience today?
Of course. So I'm Jacqueline Gill. I speak with you from Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. I have been working in the tourism and hospitality industry for over 20 years now. And I'm currently both working in my own company called Amplia Mundo and lecturing at the University of Brasilia, where I also undertake my PhD with my research also in the tourism area.
Okay, so as you can see, is not, that usual everybody knows about traveling. We always have to emphasize that it's just a chat. There's no right and wrong. And I also work in the travel and hospitality. I love to travel. That's all I do in that business. So Jacqueline, thank you once again to be here with us today. And well, we're talking about a little bit of the new normal. And we know that one of the areas that was most affected by COVID was traveling, right?
Right, absolutely correct, Rafael, unfortunately.
So, well, this is an area that you not only work with, but you've been studying a lot. Can you tell us, I mean, everybody knows about what happened because for me, I stopped traveling. That's the worst part. No vacation outside of your house. So what was the impact on the industry? How hard was it for them?
Rafael, this was the hardest impact in the travel and tourism industry ever. And that's for a number of reasons. One of them is due to the size of the pandemic and also the beginning of the pandemic saw in the tourism sector a way for spreading out the virus around the world. So it was also, on the one hand, one of the sectors that contributed, unfortunately, for the distribution of the disease. And then also, it could just not happen anymore. People should not be looking at visiting each other anymore. So the size of the impact was absolutely tremendous. From January 2020 to May 2021, there was 1 billion less international tourist arrivals in the world, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. There was a loss of 1.3 trillion US dollars of exports revenue. There were 100 to 100 million direct tourism jobs at risk. This is around the globe. And there was also countries where the activity was down to absolutely zero. In some cities, for example, where the business tourism, the corporate world were stronger, much stronger, the services in that area were much stronger than leisure, for example, it completely stopped. Example, the fairs, congress, and exhibitions sector in Germany. Germany was the country where the largest exhibitions in the world used to take place. That sector was absolutely paused. I mean, there was no way an event or a fair or an exhibition could take place. So it was a huge impact.
And I mean, you said $1.3 trillion
in total export revenues from international tourism.
Yeah, I can say it was bad. It was bad. But hey, we are recovering, right? I mean, with the vaccination and all the safety measures that everybody's taking. I mean, I took a little trip last month, wasn't that far away, but we've seen that in many countries, not only foreign visitors couldn't go, but also internal tourism was also impacted, right?
Absolutely correct. So the tourism internationally was hardly impacted, and domestically there were different ways of impact, more or less according to the possibilities of the destination. The more outdoors possibilities and more leisure for less people, the better. For more urbanized, concentrated on large number of people, the worst. However, it is, of course, we are regaining speed and energy, and the vaccination plays a key role. So what we are saying is the countries that are more advanced in the vaccination of its population are doing better. So we saw a return of activities, for example, in London, just before the beginning of the summertime, or right in the beginning of the summertime, that London had a very accelerated vaccination system, and the life was returning. The pubs, the restaurants, the parks were getting a lot more movement. They restarted to hire people, for example. It was a possibility. I wasn't there, unfortunately, but colleagues and friends who live there and work there were sending pictures and videos just showing how vibrant the ambient was. Every pub pretty much had a sign at its door at the front saying, "We are hiring, we are hiring, we are hiring." And so that was a great signal to the world, as one of the first spots that saw that happening, that there is light. It's coming our way, but we must consider we are not finished yet. It's not the time that we can say it's back to normal. It's not. We are seeing and watching the changes. We are now seeing this Delta virus coming our direction. We are seeing a situation that's not very good in a few countries, especially Europe now that is on their summer holiday, but also Brazil. And we have to be mindful that we are not there yet. There are stages we must go through before we see something more stabilized, more stable.
I think that's why we're, it's pretty much established. It's what would say it's the new normal. I don't think there's ever a way for our generation to go back to what we had before. And we've seen that's been changing a lot about how companies are run, how companies are dealing with their customers, with their service providers and everything else that they do. Since Run to Business is a company that does service management and digital transformation, and we've been studying this a lot and how to help companies. I'd just like to mention that you said two key words for us. Those were hiring and pubs. I love them. And so to keep in mind the changes that these companies must be doing, weren't there already, for example, like Airbnb and Uber, because we've seen a lot of companies that were really advanced in digital transformation. But I also seen other companies, for example, I travel really close here to the town I am right now, and the hotel, for example, they couldn't have everybody in the dining room. So we had to make a reservation for it. And we were using WhatsApp as a platform, automated messages, a chatbot and everything else. But looks like not everybody was ready for that, right?
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So especially in the tourism sector, it's mostly composed of small and medium companies. The large majority of those were not 100% ready for the digital world yet. A lot of the processes were still and are still in some areas manual, based on paper, based on pre-digital solutions. And that has shown to be a weakness. We already knew it was a weakness because we, as you work with it, the digital world, there's no return. I mean, it's a must. It's a must do. We must look at it more carefully, more attentively from here onwards. However, I believe companies that were not ready yet had to run or have to run and fast to do something about it. There's absolutely no way we can continue to survive as a business. We can look at the future as a business. We can look at the activity tourism as a business and disregard digitalization. We just have to include it. That's it. There is no way out of that possibility. We have to do it.
So as you're saying, it's like companies need to look for technology to empower everything that they've been doing manually. Again, if you guys have been following our webinars, you would know what we're talking about, because I believe, Jacqueline, that what you're saying is that it's taking the journey of the customer, right? Not just the technology itself.
That's correct. So we have to place and now more than ever, the client and the centerpiece of our strategy, right? And tourism is an industry that relies absolutely on people. And we rely on healthy people. We must take care of them because hospitality is about looking after people. And when people are on holidays, especially, that's the time of their year, of their period, that they would not want to waste it. So the better we can go as the tourism industry to provide everything smoothly to those people, the better for the tourism industry as a business, including in the present and the future. And the technology, it must provide solutions for problems, right? And that's what we aim to bring it into the businesses, right? And the solutions must be bound to solve problems of our clients. And if it can bring facilities, save time of both clients and companies, readiness, and of course, lower the costs from a business perspective, that's where we want to go, right? That's where we should be walking towards. Who doesn't want that? Something that's cheaper and also provide a better service for your client. That's perfect.
I mean, you're just saying that we have the best solution. I love what you're saying. But jokes apart, it's interesting that still in 2021 there are companies that are focusing on technology. I got the latest tool, I got the latest software, but they forget what we say in every single sales, in every single meeting that we have. Put the customer at the front of everything that you're doing. Otherwise, you're just building complexity and you're just getting systems and different integrations, and it serves no purpose except being more expensive and more complex. So Jacqueline, I couldn't agree more with you. This is something that we've been trying to emphasize in our implementations, and whenever there's a customer that needs a consultation, for example, they approach us, we have this service, how can we improve it? And it's never about just the technology. Of course, there's always on how to implement, how to make it work for the customer, how the customer is going to perceive the value. And one of the solutions we're trying to make available, it's everything on the mobile, because then you don't have to touch anything. You have your own devices. And the idea of integrating everybody's device to your own network, I mean, it's something that might please the industries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, we got to make life simple, right? Not more difficult. Whatever comes in to make it happen, that's the way to go. And there's one thing, Rafael, we should bring into the considerations that we have. The client, what does he want? As part of my research, what I'm researching in tourism is the future of tourism. And we have no way out of convenience. So what can provide convenience? That's for sure what companies should be looking at. And what shows convenience to the outside world must also reflect a convenience to the inside world. So how can I make it happen? It's basically what you were just saying. Let's look for solutions that are smooth.
Yeah, and one of the things that we see that it's hard to change in companies when you're talking about small and medium-sized companies, it's not just the technology itself, but it's the culture of the company. We've been always doing this way, and it has always worked. But then you say, has this been working for you in COVID times? No. Then when you find this new way, it's exactly that. It doesn't have to be that comfortable for you, but if it works for your customer, he's going to come back for you every single time.
That's right. And if people continue with that mindset that, oh, I have been doing it like this for decades, so it's good and it should continue to be good, I believe those companies will not have a very long future ahead of them. Because if they couldn't see transformation coming their way with the pandemic, then probably they won't see it in other times. I mean, we just had this tsunami over us, and the tsunami makes us rethink, right? What we do in different ways. And the customer also changed. The customer also puts in new requirements. It also it also puts the perspective from a company perspective to the customer, that we must consider their feelings as well, and their feelings are mixed up. We have the feeling that people do want to travel, people do want to get out of the routine, but they have fear. They're tired, they are stressed out. So how can we look at them with all of those components around and provide for something that's much better than what you used to do before? If what you used to do before you consider could be a lifetime solution, I am not sure how long that company will be able to survive and to continue to thrive in the market.
Yeah, I always like to remind my friends about the Kodak example. Kodak was one of the first, if not the first company in the world to have a digital camera. But they couldn't enjoy, and understand the journey of the new technology. Nobody prints pictures anymore. And Kodak relied on that. They're going to print and everybody's going to have their prints are gone. And we're talking about this journey. Jacqueline, you brought something that was really important for us. And it happened to my family on our last vacation. I mean, everybody has an app, to book flights, either, to get a hotel room or even an Airbnb. But what seemed to be the gap for us was we wanted to take it was something that was outside of the hotel package, and we had to deal with an outside provider, and there was no connection. So it looks to me that companies that are trying to make that a better experience for their customer, they need to look at the ways to hook up with their partners, right?
Of course, because time is something that's very valuable, especially from a customer's perspective. The more slim, the more concentrated you can provide all of your solutions, all of the solutions that may not be on you, but might impact on your client around their time of travel, around their experience of traveling with you or around your area, using you as one of the services provider, especially if you are the anchor. In tourism, we may call the accommodation to be a very strong anchor. Accommodation and food, let's put it this way. Accommodation and food are potentially the strongest anchor of a traveler, for a traveler. The more you can bring everything together and make life easy for your customer, the better for you as a business, the better for you as a brand, the better for you as the satisfaction rate of your client. That's definitely for sure.
Please.
And what's worst, sorry, Rafael, just to complement, what's worse than the solution that you provide to your client is a bit of additional phone numbers. Oh, that solution, go and call that person. That solution, go and call that person. That solution, go and call that person. That time is gone.
Yeah.
That's a dated situation. That's a past.
I mean, once again, Jacqueline, I couldn't agree more. This is one of those times where integration is really important for different companies, because they might have different systems and they might need a tool like ours that can integrate those multiple systems and, for example, present to the end user a single interface where they can purchase those traveling packages they're used to, you had to call. Now we can provide for them in a single interface that integrates the hotel, as you're saying, the accommodations and food with external service providers. Be that, if you're traveling, you hike in the mountains, or if you want to scuba dive, hotels have to understand that it needs to be a part of their plan to integrate the journey of their customers into their own new normal. Businesses change as a whole. It can be,
Mm-hmm.
I'm my part and they're going to do the other things. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. That's correct, Rafael. So I'll just add two examples to what we've been discussing. One of them is this one that's you were mentioning now, is the one-stop shop. The one-stop shop businesses are growing. Let's just look at the growing businesses at the moment. Few examples. Amazon growing, selling like hotcakes. And in Brazil, let's just put an example, which is Magazine Luiza, which is one of the largest retail shops. Throughout the pandemic, their business area that incremented profits, the profitability in a few hundreds of percentages. I mean,
Yeah.
it is because of the online solutions that is one-stop shop. You pretty much go online and you serve yourself with what you need for that area of service.
And they start building their can I say this? You know, you used to be a shop for just one thing, but as you increase everything that you can follow, people start to trust on you even more, right?
Exactly. And also the artificial intelligence is there, the analytics is there to help us know what people are searching at your portal, what else do they want? And therefore that can provide you a lot of insights and inside information, including for you to look at businesses that could be included in what you provide, right? And just talking about that and going back to Amazon as an example, where is it growing towards now? In addition to selling goods, all kinds of goods, including books, it's now selling tourism experiences. You know, it's one of their new business units. They've announced it, if I'm not wrong, last year, that they were starting in a few pilot places and a few pilot projects, but they're going towards that area as well, just because, of course, they have a lot of information to help them make decisions that drive them towards areas of business growth. So just to mention, people are going more and more and more in the tourism industry for online solutions. I mean, there's absolutely no way out. Let's just put another example to your Kodak one. That's the Blockbuster case, which is a, you know, classical case of not looking at the digital competition. The CEO of Blockbuster in 2008 gave a bombastic interview in which he said, no, Netflix, that's 2008. He said, no, Netflix is not in our radar as a competitor. Right. What happened to Blockbuster? They have one. The last time I saw, they had one shop left in the United States, and it had become an Airbnb room. So that's, you know, and now Netflix, what's Netflix? A digital solution, right? It just took over the entertainment area.
Yeah, they started out sending DVDs to people, but again, it's what we've been talking about. It's not just the technology itself, it's understanding what the customer wants. And Netflix and Amazon, they're really good at those things, you know, understanding what people want. So Jacqueline, another point that you're saying about those companies, if you could tell us what type of technologies companies should be looking for, you know, to please their customer. Is there any, you know, like sets of technology that the company should be looking for? Because you just said AI and data.
I really like this word convenience. I believe clients are after convenience. I will give you an example of what happened to me this morning with the Brazilian bank that I operate with as a company. I went online, and I know this very clear because it just happened to me, so I know the details. I went online for an advice from my manager at 11:14 a.m. I sent a few messages to the chat, online chat via the website. It wasn't before 11:54 that I received the first reply back. That's 40 minutes. This is a very large bank. Actually, it's Brazil's largest bank. How can you leave a customer waiting for 40 minutes? In 19th of August, 2021, 25th of August, 2021. You can just not. And first time the person comes and says, oh, hello, this is Camila, your manager. How can I help? I said, excuse me? First of all, you should just find a way to have messages, automatic messages. If you cannot answer, just have something, you know, to talk to me back and tell me you are on a waiting list or there's something going on.
Your number is this, it's going to take this long to take you. Yeah.
And she replies to me, sorry, in this system, we don't have automatic messages. I'm like, largest bank in 2021 saying this is just not possible. In tourism is the same thing. I mean, how can you leave a person on a holiday in one of those nicest, sunny, bright, beautiful day that all they wanted was to be relaxing by a coconut tree, by the beach, or in their picnic in the park, or whatever, doesn't matter. But who wants to spend 40 something minutes on a phone line just to change a ticket or just to change something.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So we just gotta put convenience as important as the client. You know, your client and convenience, they should just be bound together. And that's what we tell companies. Search for solutions that give them answers, give them good solutions, not give them extra work that's not going to work.
Okay, so, well, I think the brutal truth about the new normal for travel and hospitality is, switching from the responsive mode to something much more going after your customer, understanding what they want, and building those tools so that you can provide a lot more convenience to them, right?
Absolutely correct. And on the top of that, Rafael, I would also add knowledge, information of quality. We must put together quality information. I mean, there's no way we can continue to work with superficial information or something that may not be correct, or, oh, I think it can be open, or I think it opens on Saturday. No, we just got to be sure about what we share. We just got to double check. We just got to work with reliable suppliers or reliable partners. Because if you tell a customer that fair or organic products fair is open on Saturdays and you get there and it's not, it's only on Sundays, you may have ruined, a person's day in the middle of their holiday. It's just not possible. I mean, imagine just a review this company or this host. It could also be on Airbnb. I mean, we are talking about companies, but we're also impacted by individuals, right? Individuals can also become entrepreneurs in the tourism sector with digital solutions. That's even more simple to happen. I don't say easy, but I say simple because it's not something extraordinary as an effort for an individual to start becoming an entrepreneur in tourism or a good host. But just think of the review you were going to get as a provider, as a service provider, if you mislead your client. And if that day is a sunny one and you are fighting with the holiday sunny day, you were in double trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like we're there yet. Remember that the Black Mirror episode where everything's about the stars that you have, but we're really approaching that, and there are too many review sites that people can check about this Airbnb status or the host or the hotel and the services, and I think it's really true. It's in the end of the day, people just want to be pampered. I just want someone to take very good care of me, and the more we can make this as the culture of the company, the easier it's going to be for them to turn around and make the technology not just another homework, but something really organic that happens along the way. The customer is gonna be using the technology. It's either an app or it's a totem, whatever they're using, and they're not even gonna feel that. It's just part of everything that's been happening with them, and gonna be happy and pleased with it. And in the end, you're gonna get that 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Jacqueline, we're almost out of time here. Is there anything that you'd like to add to companies, to everybody that's watching us, how to handle the new normal in hospitality and traveling?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I believe is very important, Rafael, especially, being in a pandemic yet and not exactly knowing where this is going to end, because we don't know how much transformation there is to come around the viruses. We control what we can do, right? But we don't control a few other things that includes the virus.
Yeah.
We should think of the lessons we have been learning with this pandemic. And one of the points I would like to bring to this discussion, also around technology, is technology can provide for solutions in many directions. And that direction can help the industry in the long term, or that direction cannot help the industry in the long term. So we also have to make decisions around where do we want to go. I will give you one example. Technology can provide for more consumption that brings with it, for example, single-use plastics. we can find amazing solutions, but if they require for them to exist, whatever reason, plastics and plastics and plastics and plastics and plastics, just as an example. Do we have something to come with it, or are we just producing waste? That's a huge problem in tourism, because nobody wants to go to a national park that's full of rubbish. Nobody wants to go to a beach that's full of rubbish. There's a lot of costs involved in creating waste, and plastic waste is a huge problem, right? Especially in some countries that are island, that rely on tourism and get the rubbish from other places via the ocean currents, for example. And we also have solutions that provide towards the other direction, which is something more towards circular economy, touchless economy that require no paper, no plastic, no waste, basically. So as a future researcher in the tourism sector, I should not stop this conversation without saying this. Everything we do today, every solution we bring to our business today has an impact in the future of its own survival. So if we can make options, let's never forget about sustainability. And sustainability in all terms, environmental sustainability, it's here and we should look at it. But that also is even more important if we consider the future of our own business. And tourism relies, the bottleneck of tourism we know in the coming decades is going to be around natural resources and physical spaces of quality. So who will be able to provide both? Where will we be able to find water that can be served for everybody? Clean places that have space, enough space for people to have quality experiences around it. So let's consider that too. And the technology that we bring to our business should also be included in that future perspective. So that would be my final comment here.
I mean, it's really good to hear about sustainability and technologies that can once again make companies not just put the customer on the center of everything, but put the future of humanity and our planet at the end at really the center of everything. Because, well, let's face it, we're all in the same spaceship that is going around the sun.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So Jacqueline, once again, thank you so much for your time here with us. Hope that we can meet again in the next webinars.
It's my pleasure, Rafael. Really good talking to you. Really good being with you in this webinar series. And I really hope to talk soon.
Thanks, everyone. See you on our next webinars. Bye-bye.